Imagine we drop you in the middle of Times Square with a single mission. Find one person who is genuinely content right now, no performative grin, no living my best life t-shirt, in just bone-deep ease. Most people would scan faces, maybe stop the tourist snapping selfies, maybe the trader with the Rolex. Yet, if we wired their limbic systems to a stress monitor, but odds are we'd see cortisol spikes in every subject. Why? Why? Because modern life is an arena of invisible contracts, silent agreements we sign with reality every morning. Traffic will flow, partners will text back, bosses will notice effort, but parents will understand, the mirror will cooperate. Each contract is an expectation, and each expectation is a loaded spring. The tighter the coil, the sharper the snap. That snap is disappointment, and disappointment repeated becomes suffering. Today we stage a jailbreak from that cycle, packaging 2 millennia of Stoic insight, Buddhist detachment, and beast-level experiential stunts into a single, adrenaline-laced escape route. Let's start by yanking the philosophical fire alarm in the first minute. What if every good thing you'll experience this week, every compliment, every promotion, every perfect avocado already happened yesterday in someone else's life? Does that dilute your joy? If yes, expectations framed it as scarce, you lost before you tasted. If no, congratulations, you just glimpsed the freedom that awaits on the other side of letting go. Epicurus warned that craving escalates faster than supply. Seneca compared expectations to premeditations of the enemy. The Buddha called them the second arrow, the self-inflicted wound that follows life's inevitable first arrow of pain. Yet society sells a counter-gospel, dream boards, life hacks, manifesting journals, all implicitly chanting expect, expect, expect until anticipation becomes addiction. Ask yourself, do you pursue goals for the thrill of growth, or to close the gap between reality and an expectation that social media placed like a landmine in your psyche?
Click subscribe to this channel to get more topics you love.
Between minutes 1 and 3, we accelerate through mental checkpoints. First checkpoint, reality is data, expectations are code. When data conflicts with code, your brain experiences a bug anger, shame, anxiety. Most people keep debugging reality. Sages rewrite the code. Second checkpoint, expectations can't be banished. They can be reframed as hypotheses. A hypothesis invites curiosity. I think the train will arrive at 8:05. Let's test it. When the train's late, the scientist notes, adjusts, moves on. The victim curses the rails. Train delays become Zen koans when we swap certainty for experiment. Third checkpoint, frustration correlation. Keep a journal for 24 hours, noting every emotional dip. Beside each, list the expectation violated. You'll fill pages before lunch and discover that happiness isn't stolen by events, but by the anticipated film we projected over them. At the re-engagement mark, precisely the 3rd minute, we quote Marcus Aurelius, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." Then we splice a beast challenge, relinquish control of your playlist to shuffle for a full week. It sounds trivial until you realize music is micromanaged emotion. The shuffle introduces uncertainty and forces micro-surrenders. By day 3, participants report either liberation, I rediscovered songs, or withdrawal tremors, I hated losing vibe control. Their reaction graphs future capacity for bigger surrender, job loss, breakup, illness. If random tracks derail mood, how will life's major remixes treat you? Mid-video stakes rocket higher. We run a mental simulation. 2 versions of you receive identical news: flight cancelled. New version: I expected a smooth schedule. Meltdown ensues, cortisol floods, immune system dips. Version B approached the day as an improv scene. Minds the delay for people watching insights. Maybe records ambient airport audio for a future podcast beat. Same reality, different scripts. Neuroscience backs this. The brain's reward system fires not at absolute events, but at prediction errors, surprises relative to expectation. Positive surprise releases dopamine, negative surprise drains it. By lowering default expectations, you increase the probability of pleasant prediction errors. Counterintuitive math. Anticipate little, harvest many micro hits of joy. Quick analogy shift to keep tempo. A cat poised at a mouse hole expects nothing yet is fully alert. Expectations dull alertness because they preload the story, letting go heightens senses. Diogenes slept in a barrel, so the world could never bankrupt him. His bed was an invitation for reality to astonish. Question for you. Which 5 assumptions do you tuck under your pillow each night? Stable salary, flawless health, partner loyalty, societal fairness, personal youth. Remove one in thought experiment, feel the jolt. That jolt is the heartbeat of impermanence, the engine of savor. We think expectation builds security, truth, it builds glass castles. At minute 6 we drop the secondary engagement bomb, a live audience poll where 10,000 viewers text what ruined their day last. Results flash: slow Wi-Fi, wrong coffee order, friend late. All minor expectation breaches. We overlay Stoic philosopher Epictetus' face and flash his maxim: it is not things that upset us, but our judgments about things. But then cut to a surfer wiping out. He surfaces laughing because wipeouts were priced into his joy. Surfing becomes sermon. The wave owes you nothing, so every ride is bonus. But now we pivot to pragmatic tools. Tool 1. Pre-event surrender ritual. Before meetings, dates, or posts, say aloud, I commit to showing up. Outcome is free range. Neuroscience shows verbalizing intent reduces amygdala reactivity. Tool 2. Gratitude inversion. Instead of listing blessings, list disasters that didn't happen. Car didn't crash, heart didn't fail, roof didn't leak. You flip expectation baseline from entitlement to wonder. Tool 3. Micro-mourning. At day's end, spend 60 seconds grieving unmet expectations. Acknowledge, inhale, exhale, release. This resets the ledger. You wake unmarred by yesterday's ayas. We sustain intensity by confronting social contagion. Expectations scale in crowds. Likes train us to expect constant applause. Solution? Schedule silent windows when you post, but do not check feedback for 12 hours. If anxiety spikes, congratulations, you found an expectation tumor. Keep fasting until the tumor shrinks. Replace with craft practice, write, paint, code activities where process is reward. The Stoics called this virtue. Modern psychology calls it intrinsic motivation. The same medicine, new bottle. Approaching the 9-minute cliff, we orchestrate an unexpected twist. Imagine you finally master low expectations and float through days unbothered. Sounds enlightened, but there's a trap: apathy. Zen isn't detachment from life, but from the illusion of control. The enlightened still aim high, launch companies, climb mountains, but they pin fulfillment to effort, not result. The archer enjoys the draw. The arrow's path belongs to wind. Ask yourself, can you crave excellence while expecting nothing? That paradox is the doorstep to flow. We end with an abrupt revelation. Letting go doesn't shrink dreams, it descales suffering. Happiness blooms not when reality matches fantasy, but when awareness outgrows comparison. Every unmet expectation is a teacher auditioning for your liberation. Fail the audition, and resentment enrolls you in remedial class. You pass it, and life becomes an improv stage where every prop late train, empty inbox, rain at the picnic serves the story. Take a breath. Glance at your forecast of tomorrow. How many weather conditions, human moods, algorithmic whims sit outside your influence? 95%. Good. Circle that number. That's your potential happiness margin once expectations dissolve. Tonight, scrap one silent contract and wake to whatever arrives with curiosity instead of claim. We open inside the moment that normally breaks us. The email you refresh for days never arrives. The friend you counted on cancels with a one-line text. The scale shows no gratitude for your week of salads. Instead of the usual emotional whiplash, we pause as if a director just yelled freeze, and walk around the scene inspecting its props. The empty inbox, the buzzing silence, the unmoved needle leech is just static data. What splinters the heart is the script we overlay, the story that says, they don't value me, my effort is wasted, life is unfair. Radical acceptance, contrary to fatalism, does not applaud misfortune, it merely agrees to see reality before editing. It is the philosophical equivalent of switching off beauty filters so you can correct lighting rather than chase illusions. When we accept, we regain authorship. Huxley warned us about pleasure anesthetizing truth. Expectations are the same anesthesia, only with heartbreak flavor. So our first act in this segment is a cold plunge into data. What happened, precisely, minus adjectives. Write it. Watch how the mind tries to slip in an adjective disrespectful, lazy, meaningless. Strike it, keep nouns and timestamps. Already the blood pressure drops because raw reality has no fangs. From here we pivot to agency alchemy, turning unmet expectations into fuel. Think of a rocket. It does not lament gravity, it burns harder against it. Each disappointment is gravitational mass. The formula is oxidizer plus fuel, not plus complaint. Fuel is effort, oxidizer is perspective. Perspective ignites when we ask, what can this gap teach that success cannot? And that question is pure oxygen because it reframes loss as laboratory. The brain, wired for pattern seeking, lights up in the anterior cingulate when faced with novelty. Disappointment is novelty plus pain. Add curiosity and it converts to insight. In practical drill, when the next plan derails, set a timer for 2 minutes and brainstorm 5 hidden upsides, no matter how absurd. The delay at the dentist lets you finish a podcast. The broken coffee machine nudges you toward green tea. The rejection letter frees you to pivot to a path you secretly preferred. Absurdity is welcomed because it bypasses the cynical gatekeeper that says nothing good can come from this. After 2 minutes, the gatekeeper stands bewildered as at least one upside sticks. Or that upside is catalytic, small but real, and the psyche needs only a pinhole of possibility to reroute emotional circuitry. Now we escalate the challenge with a Miss Beast-style social experiment. We invite 50 volunteers to a warehouse divided into 2 zones. Zona contains sealed boxes labeled with desirable outcomes: job offer, text from X, viral post, clear scan. Zone B contains identical boxes labeled unknown. Participants open one from Zone A and find it empty except for a note saying, expectation unmet, proceed to Zone B. In Zone B, each box holds a random growth task. Call someone you've avoided, pitch a new idea at work today. Spend 1 hour learning a skill you abandoned. Researchers measure mood before and after. Shockingly, cortisol initially spikes in Zone A, but after completing the Zone B tasks, dopamine climbs higher than in a control group that received their original wish. The takeaway: pursuing tangible growth trumps receiving anticipated rewards, because novelty plus challenge engages the mesolimbic pathway more robustly than passive attainment. In other words, reality's no is often the universe flipping us from idle spectators to active players. Philosophers had this pegged. Nietzsche's Amor Fati instructs us to love our fate, not merely bear it. Radical acceptance is the first kiss. Amor Fati is the long-term relationship. But when the cab splashes mud on your outfit, Amor Fati laughs and notes you now have an interesting opener for tonight's networking mixer. It seems outrageous, but think of every riveting biography you've read. It wasn't the expectations met that made the story binge-worthy, it was the detours. We idolize detours in hindsight, yet dread them in real time. Why? Because the map is still warm in our pocket, and the detour threatens ego's GPS. Solution: shred the static map and upgrade to a compass values instead of plans. Values, growth, kindness, creativity are invulnerable to detours. You can practice creativity in a traffic jam with voice notes. You can practice kindness while unemployed by mentoring online for free. Expectations are location-based, values are direction-based. Direction outranks destination because direction persists even when the landscape erupts with surprises. But acceptance is not passivity. Stoic Emperor Marcus Aurelius fought wars and reformed law while preaching surrender to what is. The paradox dissolves when we realize acceptance addresses the present moment, ambition addresses the next. Catch the arrow, then plan the next shot. To operationalize this, we deploy a two-step protocol every evening. First, a 5-minute recap where we list all expectation breaches of the day and simply write yes. Beside each is a bow to reality. Second, a 5-minute design where we set intentions for tomorrow framed as desires, not demands. I intend to finish chapter draft. If interruptions come, I will practice patience and use micro gaps to outline key points. This dual ritual respects life as collaborator, not servant. Let's insert a super deep question to drill this home. If every goal you currently pursue were guaranteed to fail, what virtues would you still cultivate daily? And would you find that life worthwhile? If the answer is no, you've attached worth to outcomes rather than qualities of being. You're bargaining with the universe instead of dancing. Remember, dancers enjoy steps even if the song cuts out. We next tackle the social dimension because expectations breed most fiercely inside relationships. We project silent job descriptions onto partners, friends, parents, mind reader, cheerleader, archivist of our favorite memories. When they deviate, we call it betrayal. Radical acceptance suggests rewriting contracts aloud. Practice the expectation reveal. Schedule a conversation starting with I realize I assumed you would always underscore 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 underscore. I'm letting that go and instead asking openly, would you like to offer this? and under what conditions. 90% of relational resentment evaporates when implicit contracts become explicit negotiations. Where desires cannot align, freedom replaces friction, making room for connections that fit without force. Momentum sustained, we confront perfectionism, the expectation we place on ourselves. Picture a slider from 0 to 100 labeled ideal performance. But perfectionists lock the slider at 100. Reality rarely hits 100, so each attempt records as failure. We reset the slider to a range -70 to 90, where growth resides. Neuroscientific studies show that variable ratio reward schedules, like slot machines, fire dopamine vigorously, aiming for excellence within a range echoes that schedule that sometimes you hit 90 and cheer, sometimes 72 and adjust. But you almost never trigger the shame circuit that 100 only thinking guarantees. A practical anchor: adopt the good enough threshold for recurring tasks. Emails at 80 quality sent today outperform perfect drafts stuck in limbo. Over time, compound execution outruns sporadic brilliance. Approaching the 8-minute mark, we introduce a wow element, a real-time crowd visualization. Viewers in the live premiere type the last expectation they released, my boss praising me. Vacation going perfectly, into chat, the words appear as balloons on screen, floating upward and popping in fireworks of randomized affirmations, trust flow open. Watching thousands of expectations burst, releasing confetti of communal encouragement, triggers mirror neuron empathy proof you are not alone in this detox. And we prepare an abrupt philosophical payoff. Suppose we master radical acceptance, life still ends. Mortality is the ultimate expectation breach, no guarantee of tomorrow. Yet contemplating finitude enhances presence. Studies confirm that individuals who perform death reflection exercises report heightened gratitude and lower materialism. Therefore, letting go of the expectation of endless time paradoxically enriches time. Hamlet said, "There is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so." We add, "There is nothing either certain or stolen, but expecting makes it so." We close with a laser-simple takeaway. Every unmet expectation presents a binary. Recycle it into resentment or compost it into wisdom. One poisons the soil of future experience, the other fertilizes it. Choose in the split second after any disappointment, and your happiness trajectory shifts, measurable degrees, small over days, massive over years. Picture waking tomorrow with a single rule: everything that happens is your training partner. Rain on laundry day becomes cold water resilience conditioning. The unscheduled call from your mum morphs into improvisational listening drill. Even the restaurant out of your favorite dish sneaks in a palate expansion quest. But once this rule locks in, uncertainty flips from saboteur to sparring coach, lobbing curveballs only to sharpen reflexes. Neuroscience backs the shift, tasking the prefrontal cortex with game appraisal. Reframes stress signals in the amygdala as challenge, not threat, releasing performance-enhancing adrenaline instead of paralyzing cortisol. Stoics intuited this millennia ago, Amor Fati, but we can gamify it with beast flair. Every morning draw 3 random uncertainty cards from a shuffled list: traffic delay, unexpected bill, awkward silence. Then, as the day unfolds, score points each time one occurs, and you respond with curiosity over complaint. Post scores with friends, loser buys ramen, turning mishaps into shared laughter. The magic isn't the game, it's the meta-belief secretly installed: life is playable. Expectations, once rigid win conditions, dissolve into open-world exploration, where detours hide legendary loot. Deep question to seal the arc. If you knew the universe was matchmaking every obstacle with a specific dormant talent in you, but would you still curse the timing or sprint to the rendezvous? Or that whenever plans combust, happiness stops being a finish line and reveals itself as kinetic joy, the spark felt mid-pivot when you realize nothing can truly ambush a mind committed to learning. So close this video, shuffle your deck of unknowns, step outside, and the first time reality swerves, grin like a surfer catching a rogue wave. You're not off course, but you're finally riding the only course that ever existed, the unscripted one.